Man, it's the perfect weather to be out here. See how those people get on. Seeing how we have a live stream since like Saturday. Let's see who says hi first. It's gonna be Craig. What's up? How you doing? All right. What's going on? Just got done heat treating a couple more knives. We go get the wife to put them in the temper here in a little bit, or hit in the oven. We got a few tempering down below me right now in the little toaster oven. So yeah, how's it going, y'all? How's it going? So I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today, forging wise. I'm going to forge a couple little knives that I haven't forged before, just to kind of see if I can do it with some small pieces of steel and see how far I can stretch them. So basically, got the forge going right now, heating up. I've got 2 pieces of 5160 round stock. These 2 little guys right here. I don't know if y'all have ever. It's going pretty good. Eli, what's up, Neil? Jason, what's up? So I don't know if y'all have ever watched the video where I made the little rock texture EDCs. So they're just some cool little like neck knives. I was thinking about doing a few more of those, but I kind of want to forge a couple out. So we are going to do that tonight. And what's up, Chip? I think I'm going to go ahead and just take one of them. So this little piece of steel, we got it. It is 3 inches by about 5/8. All right, 3 inches by 5/8. We are going to turn this into a knife. Whenever I make these little rock texture EDCs, they are ones that have little lanyards on them. It's like a 3-finger knife, but I'm going to see how far I can stretch it out. So what we got to do, start off right off the bat, put it in the forge. Then we got to forge in a point. So we're just basically going to come in from all 4 sides, forge in that point, and then we're going to forge a little blade that is about 1.5 inches, and then the rest of it is going to be the handle. Okay, so it's going to be a fully forged knife. It's going to be one that does not have handle skills or anything like that. So we are going to take this little piece of bar right here, and we are going to turn it into a knife. I'm going to tell you right now, it is beautiful outside. It's nice and dark. It's nice and cold. So this is going to be fun. Got the doors open. It's about, I think right now, the temperature outside is like, make sure the forge is in there. Yeah. The temperature outside right now for me is right at about 45, 50 degrees, which is perfect for forging. I love that. I was doing a little bit of work on the anvil earlier today, so luckily it's not super cold. The downside to forging whenever it's really cold is waiting for your anvil to warm up. I will tell y'all a trick that I do. If I want to warm the anvil up, I'll take this huge chunk of steel right here. I'll take this guy and I put it in the forge, bring it up to temp, and I'm talking about like, I bring this whole entire thing up to like 17, 1800 degrees, and then I put it on top of the anvil, and it will actually, soak that heat up, the anvil will, and the face will be nice and warm. So, but it's warm enough for what we're going to be doing. And I will be doing one of these in tomorrow's video. So you'll see this is part of what tomorrow's video is a little bit. And then I've got other stuff that's going to be happening in the video as well. But I figured it'd be fun to go ahead, forge this. This isn't going to take long to heat up and get going. What's up, Matt? So I like trying to push material and take pieces of steel that typically people would forge into different things and forge them into knives. I love that. It's one of my favorite things to do. You know, we're going to take a 3-inch piece of steel. What's up, Steve? 3-inch piece of steel, and that's 5/8 in diameter, and we are going to forge a knife out of it. So it's going to be fun. All we're doing right now is just waiting for the forge to warm up. Not really warm up, but the piece of steel inside the forge to warm up. I had the forge go on before we started the live just to make sure that it was up to temp. And I think, let's see here, we're going to see what temp this is. So we'll check the old handy dandy laser thermometer. So just on that corner, I don't know if this is showing y'all, but it's not 5, it's 2001 degrees. And the corner where the flame is rolling around. So of course, the way that this forge works, because the burner location, it blows up to this side, and they're kind of tilted up a little bit, so it blows up to this corner and wraps around. And that corner where I have that sitting is about 2,000 degrees. Nice and warm. So it's going to make this 5160 easy to move. If y'all didn't know, I use that laser thermometer whenever I'm doing my anything in the forge. I go bald by a wig. I'm actually thinking about growing my hair back out to where it was long. Before I started back at the job that I just got let go from, I cut 14 inches of hair off. If y'all remember the videos that I had like a man bun and all that crap. We'll see how it goes. Send a picture of a knife I would like for you to build. Send it, man. It's just the Rivers Experience at yahoo.com. So just the channel name, the Rivers Experience at yahoo.com. Send me a picture. And yeah, good old hair. It doesn't take long for my hair to grow back. My fingernails and my hair grows really, really, really fast. I'll go from this to like shoulder length hair down here in like less than 2 years. So it doesn't take long. All right, just like this, we're warmed up. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try and bring y'all over here just a little bit. Let's see where we can get y'all to. That's pretty decent height-wise. We don't really need the horn because we're not really gonna mess with that very much. This is the one downside to doing this whole live thing where you have to be like this. So, grab this piece of steel. Like I said, we're going to take the corners and we're going to force them down into a point. So, I'm going to take that down into a point. See, I still got some quench oil on this. It's smoking. So we got that into a little 4-corner point. What we're going to do next is I'm going to take this whole entire thing and I'm going to kind of oval it. So I'm going to go flat on 2 of the sides just a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and forge the blade. The nice thing about this is it's not like it takes a ton of time to do this. I'm gonna clean some of this quenching off. That Parks 50, man, that stuff smokes like a son of a gun. I shared a picture in our little Knives Templar chat group that we had, and whenever you do the quenching, that it makes a smoke line that's about eye level, and the smoke just sits right there. It doesn't go all the way up to the ceiling. Doesn't come down. It just floats eye level. It's kind of interesting. Okay, get that back up temp. Do a little bit more. Might end up having to swap out propane bottles. I've been using this particular bottle for the last I've been using this bottle since we actually filled the bottles in, I think, like last Friday, something like that. So it's not bad. But you can always tell because it starts dying down a little bit, the flame. What's up, man? I don't know about all of them, but I'm doing good. All right, let's go ahead and oval this thing a little bit. All right, I'm going to go from this side. That should be about good right there. All right. Next heat, we're going to forge us a blade. And yeah, I'm going to swap out bottles on this because there's nothing like running out of propane in the middle of forging. Let's see here. Just so y'all know, I didn't disappear. I didn't leave. I'm still here. Toss that over there. Y'all can talk amongst yourselves for a second. And this is always fun. Forge. Light yourself. Well, helps when you open the propane. Now light yourself. See, now that is a full bottle of propane. So I want to show y'all something. Whenever I've got a full bottle on here, I mean, it kicks out a flame about 10 inches from the front. Whenever it starts running down, or it starts, the bottle starts freezing up on you, you can tell because the flame goes down quite a bit. All right. This. Pop the chair down whenever I'm waiting for it to heat up. So that's heating back up. All right, so the whole point behind these knives that I'm forging right now is I want to see if I can achieve that same profile that I did with the rock texture knife by forging it and just seeing kind of how we can do it. But we'll see how it goes. I sat down and this thing's pretty much already forging it. Let's see here. What did y'all say here? Definitely get a 100-pounder. Lasts forever. Yep, I agree. Flash, he must be propane certified. Hank Hill would be, yes, Hank Hill would be proud. Alright. Got you on there again? Let's grab this thing. Alright. So we're going to go ahead and pull out a blade with this. So what I'm going to do, we'll hang it over the edge just a little bit. Define the blade area. That's just a little half on, half blow indent right there. Little round side of the hammer there. Draw a little heel down. And then on this next heat, we're coming with the straight peen and we'll actually neck down into the blade. So we'll end up doing a step down into the blade and make some little integral bolster shoulders. And you're going to be surprised that little bitty amount of steel. You'll be surprised at to where it goes or how far it goes. I think what I'm going to end up doing to neck that down, yeah, I'll just use the regular straight peen and that little area right there to at least make a shoulder. So the way that I have this set up, this hammer's from Two Bastards Forge. The radius that's on this half of this hammer is the same radius I have ground into this area here. So I can come in and pinch that and it will give me an even shoulder on both sides. As long as I'm controlling my hammer blows, it should give me an even bolster on each side. Let's see here. So run a Venturi burner. Yep. Well, yeah, because it's a Venturi, it's not a Frosty T, so run my 500-gallon tank outside. If I had that, I would do that. So, I'll turn the anvil a little bit so that y'all can actually see me whenever I'm doing this. Spraying all over. Okay. Now, so I'm going to come in where I have my little notch right there and my little heel, and I'm going to do even blows from each side. Kind of like the start of it right there. Most of this is going to be pretty similar width. I'm not going to have like a huge step down, but there will be a little bit of a step down into the blade. Now, again, a little smoky in here. So again, whenever I'm going through and making these, it's just seeing how far I can push the material, and all of this is all practice. You know, getting used to forging, it takes time, but a lot of it is just taking a piece of steel, forging it into something, and pushing yourself to do it. That's what's going to help you learn how to hammer. For me, I had a lot of people say you should try doing the whole forging leaves and forging hooks and forging all these different things. That wasn't very beneficial to me. So what I decided to do was just forge as many different styles of knives as possible and forge as many like blades as possible. And I got to skip that whole forging the leaf thing because I'm a bladesmith, I'm not a blacksmith. Could I do blacksmithing? Yes, but I make knives, so I wanted to practice 100% on making knives. That kind of makes sense, right? Got ourselves a little old tiny blade right there. So I've still got plenty of thickness at the spine. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna come in with the cross peen and I'm gonna stretch this material out and then we'll forge it into a blade profile. I'm not gonna get too crazy with the blade profile. I'm gonna forge it and kind of get it to where we want it to be. But before we start fine tuning it, we'll then pull out the handle because we want to be able to even things up after the fact. There's going to be a lot of forging and moving material whenever I start forging out the handle. If I was to get the blade perfect, it would get all messed up, screwed up, twisted everywhere in the process of forging the next part. So, we need to leaf smith. The funny thing is I was talking about the whole leaf thing and this blade so far looks like a leaf. But once we get that brought up to heat, put this hammer away, we're going to come in with my John Norwood straight or cross peen right here. We're going to come in and we're going to pull that material down and out with it. So you'll see that here in this. We're going to see how far we can make that little blade pull out just by using the right hammer. Choke up on the handle. So it does help me control it. Well, here, I'll put it this way. One of the reasons why I do that, I'm used to a handle this long. So whenever I'm hammering, you take that, put it on here, and if I'm holding in the same area, I'm holding all the way up here in this process because that's just a whole bunch of extra handle. If I really needed to get after it, I could, but I always hold about that far away from the hammer, no matter which handle I'm using. That way my strikes stay consistent. So we're going to go ahead and put the 5-pounder away. We don't really need it right now. And we're going to be using that Old Hickory Forge cross peen. We're going to stretch it out. Basically, we're going to come in to that heel. We're going to forge that down, forge it out, maybe forge it back a little bit. Start stretching it out. And the funny thing is, whenever you're looking at it, it doesn't look like too much of a blade right now. But again, an area that's going to get pulled down is this little area where it's thicker right here at the heel. This next little heat, I'm going to just hammer just on that, and I'm going to pull that down just a little bit. And then we still have all this thickness in the spine. So whenever I then come in and I forge that thickness down, it's just going to give me a lot of blade. A lot of blade within reason because it's still a tiny knife. these. So let's see what we got here. As a beginner, I love working with 5160. I've made several knives with it. I've made an absolute ton of knives with 5160. I love it. It's absolutely one of my favorite steels. It's like 5160, 80 CRV2, 1080, 1084, 15 and 20. Those are going to be like my top favorite steels. And then I do like 26C3, but I tend to do a lot of stock removal builds with the 26C3. All the rest of them, I just forge the hell out of them. Let's check this. So one of the things that I have people ask me is why do I forge? Why do I continue to forge after it stops being like bright orange or bright red, and I forge it whenever it's slightly gray? For one, on the camera, it looks like it's colder than it is, but I will forge, move the steel to where I want it to go, and then if I need to kind of flatten something out, I'll do a little bit of planishing and then put it back in the forge. So the initial hammer swings are moving a lot of material while it's bright and it's not full of color. And then as it starts cooling, I start switching the blows from, trying to move material to try and flatten a little bit. Let's see here. Where can I get some of the 2063? I don't know. Oh, the 26C3. Now, I see what you're saying there. So let's pull this steel down a little bit. So just from that little bit, we were able to get ourselves a little heel down here. And then we'll go ahead, forge that blade out just a little bit to get the thickness roughly where we want it. There we go. And then go from there. So Alpha Knife Supply has a really good 8670, 2160, more chromium if I remember right. It is. So I typically get my 8670 from Pops, and then 5160, I've got leaf springs, but I also order virgin steel and forge that as well. And then one of the things I'm about to get from Pops is some 1080 in hexagon. It's a hexagon bar. My friend's Chip, the guy that's Shegman, whatever we call it, in the little chat here, he's the one that he posted a picture of it in our little Knives Templar chat group, and I was like, what's that? I want some of that, because I think it'd be really cool to forge an integral out of it and have that kind of octagonal bolster, just kind of forging that down a little bit, but have the bolster be that octagon or the hexagon profile. I think that'd be pretty cool going into a knife handle. See what you come up with. We're starting with the piece. But yeah, I love doing stuff like this, forging these, especially like a simple chill knife that you can put on your website if you have a website. So if you're selling knives, the cool thing is being able to forge something that doesn't take very long to forge and still put the quality into it, but be able to sell something relatively quick, because these I'll sell for like 130 bucks. It'll be a good heat-treated knife, good knife, come with a little neck sheath that you can put on a backpack, put in a backpack, put in your pocket, whatever. But I'll sell it for like 130, and they don't take a ton of work to make them. And if you make, 10 of them, that's $1,300. So it doesn't take long, and it's something that you can flip the material quick. You know what I mean? So now we're going to come over here with the flat side and just kind of pull this material out a little bit more by flattening it. going to kind of profile a little bit. One more time, but we're already starting to get a little bit of a little knife profile. It's still pretty thick, so we are going to forge it down just a little more. What's going to be nice is when we start pulling out that handle, and you see how far that material stretches. See here, pops once, and I couldn't get above a 60 HRC. So that's crazy because 8670 is their steel. So it's pops 8670. So that's sad that you couldn't get that on pretty much their steel. Let's see here. Maybe there's an error in my end. Probably some last stuff. Yeah. New Jersey Steel Baron. I've checked them a few times. They never ordered yet. So I'll tell you this. I've got to get my heat treat down a little bit better on the 8670. So if y'all have looked at the channel for a while, I've only done like one 8670 knife. And that's because I got the hardness on it where I wanted it, but the other two knives that I've made, you know, after the quench, even it was almost not worth it to temper it, because after the quench, I was only at like 61 HRC. So if I'd have tempered it, I would have had to have done like like a 250 degree temper for 2 hours in order for it to be in the high 50s. And I didn't really like that. The one that I was able to do that stayed up there, that was a Tonto that I did with the bone handle. I quenched it. It did, I think it was just under 65 HRC. I tempered it and I got it to right at about 60, and I was okay with that. But yeah, 8670 has been a little finicky for me. All right, bring this out just a little more. More and more, like a little blade. On this next one, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to bring the tip back in just a little bit, and then we're just going to put a nice drop point profile on there, and I think it'll look good. And how I'm going to do that, bring that tip in, I'm going to forge from the spine with the edge on the actual anvil, and we're just going to rock it with it. So we're just going to go like this, and that's going to end up changing that profile quite a bit. So a lot of forging blade profiles is really getting used to what you need to do to get the material to go to the place that you want it to go to, so that it matches what you have, you know, in your head. So you got to figure out, when do I forge on the spine? When do I forge on the cutting edge? When do I, you know, how do I center a blade inside a bolster? How do I center a blade inside of a plunge line or ricasso? Where do I need to hit it? Because sometimes I need to hit it on the blade to center in a ricasso. Sometimes I need to hit the ricasso to be able to shift the blade back into place. Where do I put it on my anvil in order to do those things? A lot of that is swinging a hammer and actually seeing what it does to the steel, especially when you're trying to forge in plunge lines and you're trying to do stuff like that. You just have to do it so that you know whenever you hit the hammer with the steel or hit the steel with the hammer that you have an idea of where it's going to go, so you're not trying to fix a screw up later. All right, so just like I said a second ago, come in. Now we're going to have us a nice little drop point. Nice little thickness on it. Nice little taper to the tip. And of course, it's not perfect right now, but that's because now I've got to flip it and start forging in that handle. And then we'll clean everything up, smooth everything up after that. So for the handle, right now, we have, see here, we've got 1 inch and 7/8 from the actual little, if you want to call that a finger choil area. We've got 1 inch and 7/8. We're going to see how far we can actually push that handle. So 1 inch and 7/8. We're going to do now, we'll go ahead and switch back to the big hammer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by forging that round bar from the sides, and again create that same oval that I did to kind of go into the blade. I'm going to create that same oval going down the sides of the round bar, and then we'll start moving the material to where we want it after that. Let's see what we got here. Learn the hard way to stay away from the newer leaf springs. Yeah, so stay away from the newer leaf springs, stay away from the newer files and farrier's rasps. If you're going to make a file knife, use an old American Nicholson file or an old diamond file. Diamond, the actual, not a diamond file that has diamonds in it or something like that, but a diamond, the brand file. Use that. Use old farrier's rasp. We're going to do that because the case hardening on a lot of those files, you know, the outside will be hardenable, but the inside's not. Same thing with leaf springs. I mean, they're putting all these crazy materials in them now versus back in the days, like when I used my Willys Jeep leaf springs or my old Ford leaf springs. You know, those are good 5160, and I've been able to get, you know, with 5160, a lot of people don't get above 65 HRC after the quench. They're getting low 60s. And I've quenched these and got to where 60 files skates. Like, it doesn't even phase it. All right. Now we're going to come in, forge it from the sides. Do that to it right there. So let's say I wanted to make just a little small, simple knife. I could easily take this, forge it out, and make a little like 3-finger knife. It wouldn't take much to get 3 fingers out of that, but I want to do a cool little profile with it, so that's what we're going to do. I'll probably go ahead and just continue using these tongs. I'm going to try out these tongs for this so that it actually grips that blade. I need to get like all the different sizes of these. So whenever I go to Blade Show Texas, I like to look at the tongs in person rather than just ordering them. And I like to talk to people. But I need to get these from all the way from like 3/4 inch all the way up to 2 inch. And I love them. But it keeps whenever you're holding stock, it keeps it from flipping out of your hands or flipping out of the tongs here. Because you actually have something locking it into place. So whenever you're coming in and you're forging hard on it, it's nice because you get to hold the tongs sideways like this. And I like to hold it here, hold it here, hold it here. I don't so much like whenever you're taking it and you're holding it like this and you're having to hold it here and then here, because what ends up happening is whenever you hammer, sometimes you'll come in and it will just rock your wrist or it'll mess with your fingers depending on the size of the stock that you're working with. Me personally, I like working with the ones that flips it to where when you're forging down on something, your wrists are just like this, and it's more comfortable. I don't have to do like this and then this, or flipping my hand. This I can easily do. Like this right here. I can do that motion real easy, as opposed to this, and I guess like that, or have to flip it in my hand. Like that, I don't want to have to do that. That's just me being picky though. Alright, let's come in here. We're going to hammer in that little finger choil area and thin that area out a little bit. That's going to give us even more of a little hill right there. And it gives us a little step down into the blade area. What I am going to end up doing is I'll end up rounding that a little bit, but now we can start pulling this material out. What's going to end up happening is that area coming out of the blade is only going to be about, I'm going to say, just under 1/2 inch in height, and then it's going to be about 1/4 inch wide, and then we're just going to taper it back into the actual back of the handle. And what we're going to do is we're going to taper it back into the back end and make that section taller, but you'll see it as I do it. But we're going to end up tapering from the shoulders going back into the handle. And what I might do is I might just say screw it and make it to where the handle and the blade, or the spine of the blade and the handle, are almost the same thickness. We'll just kind of play with it as we go. Okay, what are y'all saying here? So I'm a blacksmith hobbyist for 4 years, but not as often as you. Don't believe you're very innovative, but your experience as a knife builder has helped develop your blacksmith skills. I agree. Great comments about tongs and helping quality of your work. And yeah, I'm definitely not a blacksmith. Still searching for the perfect tongs. Always searching for the perfect tongs. Always. Got a whole bunch of them around my other anvil, and I still end up using like the same 2 or 3. All right. I'm gonna bring the thickness of the handle down just a little bit. As of right now, we've been able to get, so we started off with a 1 7/8. We're at 2.5 inches right now in length. So we've got a little bit out. As you'll see, it'll start to grow even more. And now, this is one of the reasons why I said don't make the blade perfect until we get the handle drawn out. But of course, I wanted to forge the profile of the blade roughly first so that I knew how much material needed to be there. And then I could just play with the handle until we get it exactly where I want it. But we're going to end up going in and cleaning up the blade profile even more. And the shoulders going down into the blade a little bit, things like that. We're going to end up cleaning a lot of that stuff up after we get done putting the handle where we want it. And I'll tell you, the next one that I forged like this will probably only take me, especially if I wasn't filming it, probably only take me about 35 minutes, maybe 35, 40 minutes to do the whole entire thing. This is my first time making this, so this is just kind of me playing with it and figuring out exactly where the things are going to go and then go from there. Can anyone recommend a good knife podcast? I wonder if no good. I mean, I've only said a Knives Templar like 3 times so far in this episode, this live stream. If y'all didn't know this, I'm part of a podcast called Knives Templars. So yeah, Knives Templars, not Knights Templars, Knives Templars, and Don. Right there, that Shegman Knives guy right there, his name's Chip. Don's name is Don. Chip's name is Shegman. Skjagaman Knives, or Kniever. I had trouble making tongs until I bought busted tongs cheap. Moved the rivet. Huh. That's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. Alright, so now let's pull this material back just a little bit more. Side of the hammer. Plane it just a little bit, clean it up just a hair. Just from that little section of forging, just from that, we went from 2.5. 2.5 to 3 inches. So far we've gone from 1 7/8 inches to just over 3 inches. Okay? Not too bad. And then the next step will be thinning out the area where your hands gonna, where your fingers go, your front phalanges go. Let's see here. I love that echo cancellation inside joke, Mr. Matt. Love that. What's up, Duck Rabbit? How you doing? That's live. I like the echo you get. You get an extra whack. Good evening. Oh, hey, by the way, we're going to be recording our podcast on Friday. Hey, Chip, what day is that podcast going to be live? Is that like a Sunday, Monday type thing, so that they can actually listen to it? I'll be on there. So will all the other podcast guys. If you want to hear us talk and banter and go on rants and whatnot about knife making, talk about alcohol and whatnot. Listen to Knife Talk, which is a good one. I'm pretty sure I've got one of their stickers. I got one of their stickers up on the fridge. What I need is a Knives Templar sticker to throw up on the fridge. So it's going to go out Monday, 11/6. Nice. How is Knife Talk your favorite? You are the leader of a knife podcast. That's your favorite. It has your voice in it. I'm not ashamed to say that my channel is my favorite channel on YouTube. Okay, coming from the belly side. That's going to start giving me a little bit of a scoop inside here, so that I can then end up pulling this down a little bit and just widening this section. Because what's going to end up happening is we're going to end up drilling a hole in the backside here. There's going to be a lanyard on that. We're going to clean that up some more, round it off just a little bit, and then go from there. The goal is to have a nice flow on this so that it has a nice arc from the butt of the handle all the way through the tip of the blade. It just has a nice curve that fits really well in the hand. Let's see here. Knife Talk and Knife Perspective are the best. Jeez. Yeah, you need to do the cozies, man. I've been using the Maritime Knife Supply one for like all my water. I don't have beer ones. I'm on one of them diets. Only pretty much drinking sugarless water. That's like a blackberry lemonade type thing. Got to get the belly hand, so I won't be able to hold things in my belly much longer, but I'm trying to get that in check. All right, let's grab this. Now, switch over to my little planishing hammer. I'm still not done forging, but I'm going to start kind of rounding the edges just a little bit. up some more. I pulled those in just a little bit so that whenever I do the next section of foraging, you'll see. I wish that I could make 100% of everything that I do make 100% sense, but some of it is just me going after it and doing it and just having fun with the foraging aspect of it. Trying to explain it is not the easiest. Little body hammer after watching it. Yes, this little guy, one of my favorite hammers that I ever just had in my life. Love it. Next big purchase going to be for the shop. It's a no word. So when it comes to the next large purchase, the next big thing that I'm trying to get into the shop right now is a press. I want to make a lot of Damascus. I want to put my twist on Damascus. I know that pretty much everybody's already done something, but I like doing things slightly different, and I want to do that with the Damascus game. That's one of the things. Did the Knives Templars podcast just chime in here? That is absolutely hilarious. I didn't even know that was a thing that existed to be able to comment on stuff. And yes, he does have one of my full forge knives. I like the full forge knives. They're fun. I'm going to move this out just a little bit more, and we're going to use this guy to do it. This is my 2.5 pound Wahlberg forged rounding hammer. I'm liking that profile just a little bit more, but I do want to put more of an arc to it. I need to clean it up just a little bit more, and then I'll put that arc to it. And again, whenever I make the next one of these, it's just going to be faster, and the next one's going to be faster and faster and faster, because you're just going to kind of get muscle memory of how you work with it. This is Gary from purchasing. Gary. I thought you were going to say like Gary from HR. Yeah, this is Gary from HR. I was just coming to check in on y'all, making sure you weren't saying anything wrong, and making sure everything was politically correct for the old YouTubes. That is hilarious. So I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna talk about YouTube's crap for a minute. It was like reconnecting. You've dropped signal. I almost got canceled for a second there. Y'all calm down. Stop. Arc to it. And now here in a second, you're going to see me put a little texture on this thing. And that'll help with gripping it and style. So I got it roughly where I want it to be. I'm about to screw up the profile just a little bit whenever I put the texture into it. But that handle's looking good. I think what I want to end up doing, I don't have enough to hang it off there yet. Come off here. And I'm just going to forge in a little drop right here to where this kind of cants down just a little bit. I'll do that on the next heat here. And then I'm going to forge a little bit of texture into the handle. And all I'm going to do to achieve that is take the cross peen and just come at a bunch of different angles, and it will end up giving me that texture that I want. And y'all see me do that on a few different knives. I've done it on the sword that I just finished. So the one for the Samurai Challenge, I used the same process to do the texture on it. Let's see here. I can see now why blacksmiths often end up with many, many hammers. The same hammer, different weight. Yep. And then Knife Talk was a great episode this past episode. Mariko did a ton of chatting. Check us out. I'm gonna have to go and listen to that. I haven't listened to it. I like to listen to it, especially right now with me just being here in the shop. Listening to podcasts is actually a pretty fun process. All right. So now I'm gonna bring that little end down just a little bit. That little guy right there doesn't look like much, but this little drop down is what I just did all that work for. Again, doesn't look like much, but it will hold into your hand real well. And all I did to achieve that was put a little notch into it with the horn, come in, hammer. So we'll show y'all. I know I've got a random piece of steel here. So all I did was I came in here, hammered onto the horn right here, put a notch in here, flipped it over, and then hammered back here. Beep, 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 beep. And then came in here, rounding hammer side, and I hit here with the rounding hammer, and it drew out a little heel. And because this has a tapered tang on it, or a tapered handle, I then flattened it back out, and whenever I flattened it back out, it widened this whole section, and this section was narrow. And that's what gave me that little flare at the end there. Question, do you fit your blacksmith handles for your hands? Yes, on some of them. If they come in and they're perfect, I leave them be. Like, I really like the thickness of this handle and the way that it is. I really liked that, but I still ended up cutting off about that much length for this. I haven't decided to cut these down just yet, but if you look, a lot of my handles are roughly the same profile, at least where I hold this and I hold this. They're the same profile. The ones on the other side, this one's a little bit thinner, but I do like that for being able to rock it in my hand. The other ones, I still rock, but not as much. I like this for that. And then this one has almost the same exact profile where I hold it as this hammer. If they don't, I'll change them. If the handles are a little too awkward or long, I cut them off. And then I'll burn the handles too. But I've got a whole entire these are all cutoffs from handle lengths. So I keep those just because every once in a while I'll need to make a handle. I use this as a temporary handle for one of my knives for a through tang so I can get the spacing right. And I'll be using that for several other knives. Go ahead and grab this back out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with this cross beam, and I'm going to come at different angles here. What that's going to do is that's going to give me a little texture to it, almost like the rock texture did. The only thing is, you got to come in, you got to make sure you keep hitting from both sides while it's cooling. Because you're deleting the texture from the other side as you're hammering from the other side. That's going to have a decent texture, and then what I'll do next is I'm going to heat it up again just a little bit. And I'll come in with that same side and I'll still straighten it a little bit as I'm doing the texture. But as of right now, our taper going through the end is actually pretty straight. Right there, don't worry about where it is at the blade. Just focus on the handle, taper going through it. Got a nice little profile on it. And if you go to my website, you'll actually see the rock texture knife and how much this actually flows with that profile. So now come in, clean it up just a little bit more, and go from there. And then the next step after this is just, I'll probably actually go ahead and I'll clean up the blade, and then I'll straighten the handle either in the vise or by hand, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to flip this to where the blade's actually in the fire. I can't wait for y'all to see how much blade or how much knife we've actually forged out of this 3-inch piece. And luckily I have its little brother right here, so we'll be able to actually put this next to it and see what we were able to take this piece of bar and forge it into. I think it's going to be cool. I want to use John Norwood, the guy who makes this hammer. Old Hickory Forge. I want to use his catchphrase more. He uses the phrase "nothing really to it," or "nothing to it," or "nothing much to it," or "nothing really to it," "nothing to it." He uses that a lot, and just want to keep saying it, but like, no, that's his thing. That's his thing. I'll let him do his thing. All right. Right now what I'm going to do is clean up where it goes and flows into the blade. And all I'm doing is just tapering the spine of the blade in from the handle. Because what I'm going to end up doing is bringing that texture down through the blade. Through the spine of the blade. Not a bunch of heat right now. I'm not trying to move a bunch of material. The more heat you have in it, the more your hammer actually does to the steel. Sounds like common sense, but whenever you don't want to do a bunch of this steel, you need to make sure you don't have a ton of heat in it. So you can see there, we're bringing in the shoulders of the spine up into the thickness of the handle. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to bring that texture through to the tip. So that whenever I grind in the bevels, it's going to give a really cool transition from the bevels up into what you would consider the flats. Next, what we got to do, come in here, clean up this profile, the spine flowing into the blade, and then clean up the profile of the heel right here. And by doing the spine, it'll automatically help with the heel. I've always wondered what my neighbors think whenever I'm doing a live stream and I'm just out here talking to myself, because they can't see the fact that I have a thing looking at me. So I've always wondered if they thought that I'm just out here like a psychopath talking to myself. Or that I have like an OnlyFans or something like that. Let's see here. Yeah, I hit Kyle and Dan on Knife Perspective as well. Dry, informative, and entertaining. Both good friends to us. Maker community, yep. Thank you, Chip. Nothing to it really. That's what it is. Nothing to it really. Nothing to it really. You know, we're just cleaning it up, nothing to it really. Just doing one of the most dangerous things that I do, heating up the bottom of the tank so that the frost can kind of defrost off of it. Nothing to it really. Alright. Now what we're going to do, we're going to try and clean up the spine just a little bit. I'm going to switch tongs. It's going to be easier with these to do this. So I'm about to get another like quarter to half inch out of this handle just by doing what I'm doing right now, where I'm trying to thin out the area of handle before you get into the heel, kind of in that finger choil area. So I'm probably going to get another quarter of an inch out of the handle just by doing what I'm doing right now. And all I'm doing, of course, is just hanging it over the edge, forging down, and what it's going to do with like half off, half on blows. If I've got the heel hanging off the edge here and the belly of the finger choil on the actual anvil, it's going to drop that the heel of the edge down a little bit and thin out the actual height of the handle right there. And then I'm going to flatten that section, because whenever you thin it, whenever you come in and you thin it this way, it fattens it this way. So you're going to thin it down here, and then you're going to flatten it. As soon as I flatten it, I'm going to move that material outwards. That's going to give me more length. That right there. So we thinned that out a little bit, brought that heel down even more. All I got to do now is forge it kind of back a little bit, and we'll be good. So on this next heat, what I'm going to do is work on, again, the transition from the handle down through the tip, and then if I still have enough time, I'll go ahead and start bringing that heel down just a little bit. Let's see here. That's great. Hi everyone. I'm late. What's up, Jeff? Better later than never. Plus, you can always watch the rest of this, later today or tomorrow. Not used to this being a problem. My tank froze up, and I didn't mean froze up the other day. Yeah, it can, absolutely. Think of your propane tank as one of those air cans for your computers. It will freeze from the bottom up just like that. Oh yeah, I wish that I was in a position to where I could actually have people come here. I'm not there yet, but I love this aspect of it. I actually get to talk to y'all and answer things instead of just talking to a camera. Okay. Now we're going to work on that just a little bit more. That flows well. Nice little taper all the way to the tip and to the back side of it. All right, getting there. Should only take a couple of like maybe like 25, 30 seconds for that heel to heat up so that I can go ahead and pull that down. And then we'll clean the blade profile up just a hair and then go ahead and finish putting the texture in. And this will be done. So let's see here. It's dinner time anyways, so not that big of a deal, but still. Eric, did you see those cross draw sheets I made? Yes, I did, and I like those. I will probably be making some of those. I've got some cross draw Kydex leather hybrid sheets that I'm going to be working on for a couple of the EDCs. We'll go from there. I'm excited about those. I need to pull these blades out of this old tempering oven here. Where are we going to put? Oh, I already got the spots for these. Don't want them to develop a warp, so I don't want to put them on any cold surface. So these are the 26C3 EDCs. Just pre-heat treat bevels, that's it. Go ahead and pull this heel down just a little bit. See how much we pulled it down right there. Now it actually has almost a straight transition from the belly of where the finger choil is down into that blade. Now it's just cleaning stuff up. I think I've said that like 26 times in this. So I want y'all to hear the difference here. You can hear the forge. How much it changes whenever you start defrosting it. I don't even know if y'all can tell the difference, but it's quite a bit louder for me whenever you take the frost off. Let's see here. Your neighbors will probably prefer you have folks around while you're out back. Yeah, I agree. Like the handle to blade ratio? Me too. All right, let's clean up this profile. right now is kind of planishing a little bit. We're not trying to move a bunch of material. Even things out a little bit. Center the cutting edge. Edge thickness is good. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and do the texture, but that's a good little profile. Let's see how much difference there is here. So bringing it to the end. That is not bad. Nice and straight. I'll take it. Now it's just adding the texture back in, and we'll be good. What I'll do is I'll texture from the tip back to about almost just right in front of the tongs, and then I'll flip it and I'll texture the rest of the way. And for this, because we're just trying to add texture, we're not trying to move a bunch of material, we're not heating it up all the way, we're just warming it up to probably about 1100 degrees, between 1100 and 1300, and going from there. So let's see here, just learned something new. Thanks for helping beginning bladesmiths. I'm glad to help. Thank y'all for hanging out with me so I'm not bored by myself. All right, let's go ahead and grab it. Take some of the heat out of it. Right. Do the back side. Now what I'm going to end up doing now, because the half of the handle to the tip is good and straight, so now while I'm doing the texture on the back half of the handle, I'm going to be straightening it as we do that, so that that's done and our blade is done. What's going to end up happening is, whenever I come in and I profile this, I'll end up rounding and smoothing the belly and the spine. So all that rock texture will be, or all that texture will be down the sides, but it'll have a nice smooth belly, smooth spine. I don't know if I'm going to end up doing jimping or not. I'll play with it as I use it, or as I go with it. And like I said, it's going to have a lanyard hole in the back. It's going to have nice clean bevels going up into a cool texture. I think it's going to be pretty cool. What's the thickness of the rock texture handle? The thickness of the handle on the blade, like on the handle, or what I'm doing the rock texture with. Right now, the widest point on this is going to be 1/4 of an inch. Handle wise, the narrowest is going to be about 3/16, and that's going to be where the butt of the handle is. It's going to be about 3/16, and then going into the blade is right in between 1/4 inch and 3/16. I can almost guarantee you that I'm right with that. 3/16, 1/4 inch, 3/16. I don't know if you could see this, but 3/16, widest point, 1/4 inch, 3/16 by eye. Takes a while, but you can get used to measuring like that. Okay. Come in. Straighten her up. And because I have a distal taper going both ways, you got to make sure you keep everything in line as you go through. What I'll do is I'll take the heel of the blade and then I'll match that up to the center of the butt of the tang. I know one of the things that I need to do is I need to pull the tip over here, but what I'll do for that is I'll just put it in a vise. I'll use the tongs and I'll just pull the tip in line. But for right now, we got, you can see the tip comes over just a hair, but from here all the way through the back end, we got a nice taper on there. Good profile. Good little blade. It's going to make a great little utility knife. So now, go back in the forge. Oh, and then you can see the texture that goes all the way through it. Once I vinegar soak it and get all the forge scale off, all that texture is going to stand out really, really well. So now it's going back in the forge. It's going to come up to 1600 degrees. We're going to shut the forge off and let it cool with the forge. What you doing? What's all this noise? I have no trouble here. I'm buying a pair of tongs. Can you recommend a good length? 15, 16, 17 inch. So these are about the shortest tongs that I use right here. And the tines on them, let's see how long they are. So the tines on this are 13 inches. Overall length is 16 and a half. And then the overall length on this one's 17. So 16 and a half to 17. One of my favorite sets that y'all see me use every once in a while are these guys right here. That's one of my favorite sets. These are old school. This was a different type of material that's forge welded here to get to your tines. But those are 23 inches. But you get a lot of leverage with these. So whenever I'm holding on to something with these, if I'm holding on to it, it's not going anywhere. It's the same thing for my other tongs that are for round stock. These guys right here. Another one that is about, I would say these are probably about 24 inches. These are about 25 inches right here. So it really just depends. These are made by Old School Blacksmith. Really like them. That was made by Old School Blacksmith. The Wolf Jaw ones, again, another one, Old School Blacksmith. But yeah, nothing to it but to do it. Yeah, nothing to it really. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this forge off. So, we were able to, when it was all said and done, get roughly a 6.5, almost 7-inch long piece of material, or 6.5 to 7-inch long blade out of a 3-inch long round bar. So that's not bad at all. We were able to take that piece, forge it out, get that whole entire blade out of something as small as this, and when it's all said and done, it's all cleaned up, it has a sheath, it has a lanyard, all that stuff. That will be a $130 to $150 knife on my website, and you can make those relatively quick as long as you get used to the process. And like I said, the next one that I make will be really easy because I'll know where to start forging, all the different steps into it. It'll make it a lot easier. And I'll probably make the next one in like 45 minutes. And then the one after that will be probably made in 30 minutes. So whenever you start thinking about, how much you're paying yourself per hour, being able to do things like this and knock them out relatively fast is pretty awesome. Now, you got to, of course, think through, you're still going to have time for heat treating. You're still going to have time for working at the 2x72. You're still going to have time and materials in the lanyard, in the Kydex, making the Kydex sheath for it. All of those things still have time associated with them. But thinking about what you're paying yourself per hour, I have to think about that because I'm doing this full time. So knocking out a bunch of EDCs and doing stuff like that are kind of going to be the bread and butter for me because I sell EDCs really fast. I don't sell the big custom knives super fast. I do sell them. I just got done shipping off 3 of them today. And but whenever I put the EDCs on my website, they sell within the week. So that's the stuff that's going to make you money. Now for me, I like making unique things. That was the cool thing about this being a YouTube channel, was being able to make unique stuff. But doing the EDCs and doing stuff that is going to be able to pay you out over time to make sure that you're actually able to do this for a living is a huge deal. You know what I mean? You got to do some production. You just got to have to do it, or kind of have to do it. It can't all be custom builds. And that was a huge thing for me, was figuring that out. Right, hold on. I'm going to roll this in here. And block it off a little bit. Don't want it to cool down too fast. So if you're wondering what I'm doing there, of course, I'm doing an annealing phase. I always do an annealing phase after forging. So if I'm not going to mess with it till tomorrow, I want to make sure that I can get it into a reset state. That's the whole point behind the annealing process, is just like your first round of normalizing. You're trying to get it into its most relaxed state. You're trying to get it to to no longer think of itself as a leaf spring, no longer think of itself as a coil spring, no longer think of itself as anything other than what you just forged it into. A lot of the times, people will fight slight warps in steel, especially if you do a leaf spring. It tries to have that memory come back into it, so you'll slightly warp to the direction that it was originally a leaf spring. The easiest way to get that out of it is to forge it flat, doing a annealing step, and then forge it into your profile, doing a annealing step. That's just, again, bringing it up to 1600 and letting it cool inside the forge or letting it cool in vermiculite. And then from that point forward, you just turned it into a piece of 5160. It's no longer a leaf spring. It's no longer a coil spring. It's no longer anything other than what you just made it into. But you have a lot of people forget that annealing step, and they'll get ahead of themselves. They'll forge it out. They might do a slight thermocycle. If you don't have something like this right here, this little high temp thermometer, laser thermometer, if you're in a semi-dark area, let's say like this area right now, because I have this light off that's above me, this light that's up here, I have it off whenever I'm doing the quenching process. If you're in a slightly darker area and you're just going by color on the steel going into your quench, there's going to be times where you're going through the process of doing your normalizing cycles and you think that you're hot enough, but really in all actuality, you're 200 degrees cooler than what you thought you were. So you could be in a dimmer room, you can be at 1350 degrees and it look like you're at 1600 because you got a nice even heat through the blade. It's a nice orangish color and you're thinking, yeah, that should be fine. And you're technically at sub 1400 degrees because you're not actually checking the heat of the steel. And then you think that, well, I did an annealing step, but really you only did a thermocycling step. You only did a grain refinement. So you never took it to 1600 to relax the steel. So you did a 1400 and then you bring it up to what you think is around 1475 or 1500, but it might be still right below 1400. And because it's nice solid orange, because it's darker out, it's darker in your room that you're using in your shop, and you go to quench, and either you don't quench it hot enough, and it doesn't harden enough, and boom, you're sitting here wondering why your steel is 55 HRC and not 65 because you didn't quench it hot enough, or you're wondering why you didn't, why you have a big bow in it now. And it's because you never took it up to 1600 degrees to relax the steel. So whenever you did quench it, let's say you did quench it about 1475, well, it wants to pick that bow back up and turn itself back into a leaf spring. So then you get that curve in it. And a lot of that is just because you don't use certain tools to help you make sure you're within margin of doing it the correct way. And they're very helpful. I mean, this thing was like $60 off Amazon. And lights play with your mind. They play with your eyes. They make you think something's hotter than it is or colder than it is. So the easiest way to do things is if you're going to start working with, let's say you want to work with 1080, you're first getting into it. What I suggest you do, and I've said this in a bunch of different videos, but people don't watch all the videos. If you're going to work with 1080 as your first steel, what you want to do is you want to just heat treat some of it. You want to, if you don't have one of these guys right there, if you don't have one of those, what you want to do is you want to bring it up to what you think is hot enough and then quench it in your oil and then get those little cheap file testers, these little HRC file testers off of Amazon, think these are like Habaki, Habusa, Subosan, these little guys right here. Get these, and what you want to do is you want to bring it up to the temperature that you think is hot enough, quench it, file test it. Okay, did it file test at 65 HRC? If it did, fantastic. If it file tested at 60, 55, whatever, you might need to change it and get a little hotter. Let it soak for a little bit longer in your forge. And then quench it. And if whatever color you're looking at, to finally get to that point to where you can remember the color and you're quenching it and you're getting a certain amount of hardness each time you do that, you could buy a 4-foot bar of 1080 for like $35. Go through, cut off pieces, quench them, file test it. Once you file test it, you know what hardness it is. Then start tempering it. And whatever oven you're going to temper it in, do a 500 temper, do a 400 degree temper, do a 300 degree temper, and learn what heat in the tempering gets you to what hardness after the temper. What you're going to be able to do from that is you're going to be able to see if I got to 65 HRC and I tempered it at 350 instead of 400 degrees for 2 hours times 2, I was able to get down to right at 60. Well, then replicate that. There are equations for all this stuff on Google, but a lot of it is you going through and using the stuff that you have to figure out how to do it. One of the biggest differences between a piece of steel and a knife is edge retention. So you can have a knife-shaped object that has 0 edge retention, or is too brittle and breaks real easily, or has a lot of stress fractures and cracks. Or you can have something that has great edge retention, that's very durable, that holds an edge just how it's supposed to. It's a good solid blade that can last people a long time. That's when you're making knives. That's when you're making something that's useful. So, having the right heat treat, having the right handle ergonomics, those are the two things that keep people buying your blades. Now that we're done with all that, and we've been on here for like an hour and 50 minutes, do y'all have any questions for me before we sign off? I know there's only like 13 of y'all left here. Sounded like not many of y'all liked my little rant that I had right there. I guess it really wasn't a rant as much as it was like an informative thing, but some people don't like to hear all of that crap, I guess. My big thing is, again, whenever I first started getting into this, everybody who was making knives on YouTube were making them out of 1095. And then I tried to make 2 knives out of 1095. I had decent results with both of them. But whenever I did snap test on my grain structure wasn't super awesome. But it held an edge really well. But the actual grain on the inside, was a little bit bigger than what I would wanted. That's whenever I did research and I realized that 1095 really likes a heat treat oven. It really likes a 5 to 10 minute soak time. It's a finicky steel. 1080, not finicky. You get 1080 and heat treat that bastard from 1450 all the way up to 1525 and you'll have a decently usable blade. It's absolutely ridiculous how forgiving 1080 is and 5160. Some of the most forgiving steels that you'll ever work with. So, any questions? You're good here, bro. Just building a cart for my kids' arts and craft stuff and preschool stuff. Thanks for helping me and others. This is a hobby I've really glad to join into. It's an awesome hobby. Bladesmithing, knife making is absolutely one of my favorite things that I've ever gotten into. I was a knife collector for like 20 years before I got into knife making. And now if there's something that I see that I want to make, I just make it. If I draw something, I just make it. It's awesome. Like, that's the best part about this, is literally you can draw something on a piece of paper and then you can just make that. Like, that is just sick. I love that aspect of this. Just however artistic you want to get, you can just freaking do it and just have a blast. Um, Fun and can sustain itself. Yeah. So I've lucked out, and prior to this being a full time gig, uh, this shop paid for itself several times. I've paid myself back for everything, and I've made a decent little income as a side gig this whole entire time. Uh, Now, one of the things that I want is a press. Just imagine how much crazy stuff I'm going to be able to do once I have a press. It's going to be ridiculous. Being able to do everything that I do right now by hand is absolutely awesome, but I cannot wait to get a press. Like, I will just order round bar and square bar from anybody I can get a hold of with it. And I'm gonna make so many integrals, it's gonna be ridiculous. And I've got a kind of like a waterfall platen that I'm working on right now to make it to where I can do integral bolsters. It's like a waterfall, but it's got bearings all the way across the face of it, and so I can radius things on the the same radius as a skateboard bearing. And that's all it is. It is literally skateboard bearings and a plate of steel, and it is going to be cool. And I'm just making it myself because I'm not buying that. I've already drawn it up and started working on it, so I know I'm going to make that. And then I've got a sharpening attachment that I'm going to be making to attach to the 1x30, because Matt Rich had a really good idea about one of the things that I could do as a full-time knife maker is sharpen local people's blades, like restaurants and people who are just around here that keep buying blades because the other one gets dull. Charging a fee to sharpen blades. I'm going to do something with my 1x30 to make it to where I can do that and I can charge and just have a kind of a consistent income or an extra little something from doing stuff like that. So I'm going to be offering sharpening for people that are local, and then people who want to ship me their stuff, they can ship me 10 knives and I'll sharpen them and ship them back to them. Someday when you're fitting a handle, you can enjoy carving knives. Build a guide. Yeah. So I plan on doing a very kind of like minimalist knife. If the video and audio is out of sync, let me do this. Is the video and audio better now? If I hop off my Wi-Fi and I go to just the network, it makes it to where I can go further into the corner of the shop. But if I'm on my Wi-Fi, I have to be all the way at the other end of the shop. I can't go back there. If I do that, it starts acting all ridiculous. So I don't know. Is this even any better right here? And if y'all ever see that it's out of sync like that, mention that to me so that I can actually go ahead and try and correct it. Carving looks like a fun process to learn. I definitely want to try it. Yep. So I plan on making a few carving knives myself so that I can actually do some of that. My kids, I just assumed I was watching the dubbed version. That's actually pretty funny. My oldest son, Xander, he carves and does 3D models and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm typing on my phone and watching on my TV shop or my shop TV. I've debated on putting a TV in here. I don't know exactly where I'd put it. I mean, I could probably put it up on one of these walls or put it up on the door or something like that. But yeah, I've debated on putting a TV out here. I've got the Wi-Fi that's going to be coming out here very soon. Just out of sync. It was out of sync. Guys, we are about to hit 2 hours on this thing. Thank y'all for hanging out with me and, working on a knife and finishing that thing up. I think we're going to call it right here. So on tomorrow's live stream, We've got a couple other random things that we're going to be doing. And if you're wondering why I didn't live stream for the last couple of days, the 30th is, so I take Sunday off. Okay, so Sunday's off. If I'm off on Sunday, that means there's no morning video on Monday. And I'll typically be live streaming back Monday through Saturday. But of course, Monday the 30th was my wife's birthday. And then the 31st, Halloween. So we did all that stuff. So now we're back to doing this. So off Sunday, 30th birthday, 31st, Halloween. Now we're back on the live streams. Y'all got a video that's coming out tomorrow. We're going to be getting it. You help me build one. I'll know how to do my set of carving knives then. There you go. Scandi grinds are good for carving. Yes, they are. You really don't need full flat grinds or anything like that for carving knives. And then I'll tell you another useful tool. Having chisel grind knives are really nice for different things. There's a lot of knives that you can use in woodworking and wood making that are absolutely awesome. But yeah, Scandi grinds are perfect for that. And then there's a bunch of other things that you can do. If you want to do like wooden bowls or wooden spoons, the little carving knives to actually carve those out are, of course, pretty different shaped. You can do a lot of those that are actually curved to be able to actually carve out material inside bowls and spoons and things like that. So it's a lot of things you can do. They're pretty awesome. All styles have an advantage and disadvantages. Yep. Good for carving. S30V. S30V is a good steel. All right. Guys, if y'all hung out for the whole entire video, this whole live stream, thank y'all. And thank y'all for hanging out. Thank y'all for talking. I think we are going to end it here. Guys, y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay safe out there. I'll see y'all tomorrow. See y'all, guys.